Hello. Hello, David, and welcome to Borrow My Belief, which is a podcast to inspire people to follow their dreams and follow their heart. And I'm really excited to have you on my podcast today because you're the first person that I've brought on with regards to property, which is a passion of mine. And I know that people can change their lives with property in lots of different forms. Like there's so many forms, it's unbelievable. But we're going to talk about you today and what you've done with it. So, as I say, welcome. And if you start off by introducing yourself, just giving a little bit of information about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Hi, Joanne. Thanks for having me on. Great to be here. I'm David Liddell. I am a business owner, multiple business owner now. I previously worked as a mechanical and hydraulic design engineer in the oil and gas industry. And I've over the last 4 years made the venture into property and built some businesses off the back of that, and very much had a lot of challenges and successes and failures at the same time. But yeah, we're expecting a wee baby in a few months, so that's exciting. Previously I lived up in Aberdeen, north of Aberdeen. Now live in Glasgow. So a bit about me, bit about my background, and yeah.
Well, I've been watching your story over the last, I think it's like the last year,
Yeah.
and I've been really, really, really inspired by you. And
Thank you.
congratulations, by the way, for your baby.
Thank
And
you
I've
very much.
I've met your partner, and I remember her saying to me, like, I'm looking at you thinking, oh, he's doing all these great things, which we'll get into. But I've met your partner, and she actually said to me, there was a moment in your journey, which wasn't that long ago, where you felt like you wanted to
Mhm.
give up, but you actually kept going. Do you want to describe that? Because there's people who've got dreams and
Yeah.
you've pushed through that point, and it'd be good for people to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think not that long ago, I did feel like given my new journey up. I give a bit of context, moved away from engineering at the end of in April 22.
Hmm.
We're now in July 24. But at the end of last year, which would be the end of 2023, I kind of was a bit in limbo with property, the business, and what I wanted to do, where it was going, and kind of picked the easy route. I took on some part-time work as a kind of consultant, engineering consultant. Didn't last long, and almost took a step back, and I felt like maybe that was me admitting defeat a bit, alongside with wanting to, feeling like I was giving up, and it just wasn't for me, and I wasn't capable of things. And that was maybe a 3 month phase at the end of last year. And just at the start of this year, at the end of last year, I was like, what am I doing? Let's just fully focus on this, and move it forward on the business, and really put in proper actions into the proper things that make the difference. I'm far from perfect yet with that statement, but really did start to knuckle down at the start of the year, focus on the things that mattered to move the business forward. We're now 6 months on, roughly half a year on, from when I started to really do that and see results from that. Now we're 6 months on, and things are coming to fruition from the actions back then, and the big jumps I took from multiple kind of projects we took on are starting to come to fruition. Multiple investors we took on, and to make it possible. And if you probably asked me, 6 months ago, or 7, 8 months ago, that I'd be in this position now, I wouldn't have thought that would have been possible at the time. And you know,
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure many people get to that part in their journey, which is really good to see that you've pushed through. Go back to before you started to do this, when you were working in your job, you had
Mm.
dreams. Like there'll be many people who are listening to this because this podcast is all about following your
Yeah,
dreams, whatever that would be. It looks different for everybody, but um, you're thinking about you want to do something, you've got these dreams,
yeah,
you you know you need something different in life. I'm guessing that your heart was like, I need to be doing something different.
yeah.
I'm not living my fullness. What was going on with you back then?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, back when I was an engineer, I mean, I kind of was just living week to week, I guess, like many. You know, going to my work, coming home at the weekend, going out, blowing my brains out at the weekend, and a bit binge drinking and all sorts. And you know, that was the routine for probably over a decade,
Yeah.
well over a decade, anyways, in school probably. So I mean, I always felt like I had something. I always felt like I was capable of doing more. I always wanted to build a business or something, whatever it was. And at the time, I didn't know what it was. I knew that I always wanted to, you know, travel the world. It was kind of the dream, and one day maybe get a yacht and travel the world in a yacht, or and all these things, which essentially I'd never be able to afford. For one, I'd never be
Hmm.
able to get the time off. I'd never be able to, you know, it results down to money to be able to do that, you know, and freedom as well, freedom to work on my own terms. But I'd never be able to do that as the engineer role, no matter, you know, even though it was a decent wage, what people would class as you know, a very good wage for someone of my age. Um, and you know, there's a lot of people that you know, earn a lot less than what I did at the time, and you know, but it still is fun to travel the world in that wage. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't let, you know, decide when I want to work.
Yeah.
And that was always kind of a dream of mine, just to have the freedom. And now me and Samantha are talking about, you know, traveling the world, homeschooling, just not having a base, just being completely free and stuff like that. So I believe that, you know, the journey that I'm on now with business, and we're going to be able to get to that point. We're not quite there yet,
Mm.
but yeah, we'll be able to get to that point. So yeah, that
Uh,
was kind of always my dream, and I knew that my role was going to limit me. You know, my old work was going to limit that.
because you're exchanging time for money. And I
Yeah.
relate so much because I'm about to jump into the same arena as you, and I've put my resignation in on my job, and I relate so much to my
Mhm.
grandchildren. My grandchild's at the other side of the world and
Mhm.
has to get 2 weeks off so I can see my grandchild once a
Mhm.
year. Not enough for me. And I know how it feels to take that leap of faith. Can you remember how it felt when you was like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna
Yeah.
immerse
Yeah.
myself in this?
Yeah, it was scary at the time. I remember it like yesterday in April. But I worked as a contractor essentially in engineering, so I drew back my hours quick to 2.5 days a week. So I was working like that. Then it was always a step to go full time. And one of the reasons I started the property business, before the COVID pandemic, we were due to go up to Australia. You mentioned that there, and that obviously got cancelled. It was a new job that, you know, was kind of getting lined up and all expenses paid kind of thing. So it was the perfect thing for me. That was a dream, you know, to you know, but it was still going to be me doing a job that I really just didn't satisfy me. And yeah, I'm like say sitting behind a computer all day. I do a lot of that right now, but I enjoy it a hundred times. I'm not looking at boring engineering documents. I'm not looking at, you know, I'm looking at things that excite me, that scare me sometimes as well. Like, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, taking that jump, I kind of accepted the fact over that we're no longer going to Australia. And now I was kind of at peace that we weren't doing that, because I wasn't happy that I knew that I would end up in Australia doing something that I also didn't like, albeit it would be nicer weather in Scotland. It'd be the place I wanted to go to, but I may have still just been just being in the same trap in a different environment, you know, in a different location. So I'm glad that all that happened. I don't regret not going at all. We will go and spend some time there, but we don't have to go and live there, and I don't have to get somebody to pay for it for me and be a slave to a job for 4 years just to get there. I can do it on my terms again. And it was funny when you know, that was about, you know, COVID hit at that point in 2020, and that all got stopped. So, and then 2022 is kind of when we signed in that resignation letter, and it was the last week of work, and that company emailed me back and says, look, are you wanting to come over? So you still open for the job role over in Oz? So all the second thoughts in the world went running through me. Why am I doing this? What am I doing? I want to go to Australia. That's, you know, that we should just do this. I'll just take this job back. You know, it's secure. It's, you know, it's guaranteed, or however, depends how you perceive that. It's guaranteed income. You know, at the end of the day, you get fired and you've got nothing. So, and that's not even your choice. So it's very much not guaranteed. It's my perception of a wage or a salary now, compared to me being able to control what comes in and goes out. But yeah, sorry, I'm diverging. You know, that offer came back on the table.
Yeah.
At that point, and yeah, that's when all the second thoughts and what am I doing came through my head. But I just pushed on.
It's like the journey, isn't it? You've mentioned freedom a few times, and I can see that's one of your top values is freedom.
Yeah. I just want to, as a kid, I love my extreme sports. I've kind of faded away from them. I've been very much not giving myself much time to, and I've been very focused on business. But when the baby comes to starts to get older, I very much want to get, you know, really back and heavy in that, whether it's motocross and, you know, I love water skiing, barefoot water skiing, all these kind of sports that Australia is very keen on, just by coincidence. So I really want to get back involved in that and have the freedom to do these things, to wake up in the morning and, you know, take my child out water skiing, or, you know, go and do all these things. And you know, I'd done some of these back as a kid, but I just, even with a decent wage or salary in my old work, it also kind of laid with me like, really, to do all these things, would I even actually, you know, by the time you paid for just getting by, would you actually have, you know, enough money to dispose into things like this? Even if you got paid 60, 80, 100 grand a year, you know that it is, you know, these big salaries, I feel, really don't mean as much as they used to.
No, David. So listen, I earned 120k a year in one of my jobs, and it didn't get me that stuff. Yeah, it's an illusion.
No.
So thankfully you saw that illusion before I did at 49.
It is. And you only get yeah. So yeah.
So you're building, what I can hear now is that you're working in your property business, and you're working really full on at the moment. I can see what you're building. I do get to see you at meetings and things.
Yeah.
You're building a future for you and your family.
Absolutely. That's what it's about. So we've got 3 months, 6 months have passed very quick this year, with a kind of the change in mindset and the action taken and the results now showing, kind of. And it's flowing past very fast. Also, 6 months of pregnancy has kind of been tied in with that, which is flowing past quick. But so I've got 3 months now to really, my main focus is we're bringing on some team members to help with the workload. And the next 3 months going forward is really to be able to take some time off, which we've not really done at all over 4 years of being in business. This, you know, baby will come basically exactly 4 months since we started the business. It's almost to the day. It's 4 years, sorry, 4 years, almost to the day. If I look back in company's house, I'll need to cross-check that actually. So it's almost 4 years to the date, and we've very much not taken. We had a wee holiday a while back, we'd done a trip around Europe over winter and stuff anyway, because a lot. But apart from that, we've not really taken much time off at all. We work at weekends, we work at nights, we work stupid o'clock in the morning. So the next 3 months is about systemizing, optimizing the business and the properties that we have, the projects we have, getting the team in place to deal with them on our behalf. And I'm not saying I'm taking 4 weeks off and male maternity leave, but I'm going to be taking a few weeks off, definitely. But, you know, it might be on my first day. I need to tap in 1 or 2 hours in the morning, you know, and just clear my feet as things. And that should be fine. And I don't have a problem with that at all. You know, and keep things ticking over. Essentially, the business is our first baby, you know. So anyway, so we need to keep on top of that. Yeah.
So what I'm noticing, David, is like 2 things. First of all, you won't be able to do that in a job. Like you have that flexibility. And even though it's hard work at the moment, you are building something that you'll be able to step back from. And secondly, when you talked about your job versus what you're talking about now, I can see a massive difference. And the word I would put on it would be, you seem fulfilled, like fulfilled in your own business. And you've mentioned it's not easy, but you have that fulfillment. It's your baby. Like you've said, it's your baby. So my next question is, why property? Why did you choose property as your vehicle?
Good question. I always knew that I wanted to do things in property. I was always going right back to a kid. You know, my stepfather was kind of architect. He'd done some projects, buildings as an architect over the years. He'd done a lot of projects. I was around that as a child. You know, helping him out on site, laying out sites, plans, and all this, and was just always kind of involved. That's more towards the job side of it, opposed to the investor side of it. But you know, and I always had sight of people having, you know, properties as buy-to-lets, and you know, using that model to generate income, providing homes. My dad done a bit of it, and you know, he doesn't have any of that now, but done a bit of it for a while. And then when I was younger, I was always very into DIY and love working my hands. I actually wanted to be a joiner originally. Part of me wishes I'd done that. I maybe would have enjoyed my work a bit better. But and I had a wee handyman business when I was at uni, and done some, you know, so I was always working on houses around my mum's house, around my dad's house, helping friends out. And then so yeah, that was kind of, I always thought maybe working in properties was the way, but turns out it's very much the opposite. So I bought my first property about 8 years ago, which I buy-to-let. I lived in a town called Ellen, just north of Aberdeen, and I didn't have any sort of real knowledge around property. I just kind of made up my own knowledge as I went along. And I thought, well, why buy a property in Ellen when I can buy a property in just slightly north in Peterhead for half the price and almost get the same rent? So I'd kind of done that on the fly, just out, and people screwed their nose up. Why are you buying a property there? You know, and I goes, well, it's the same rent, it's half the price. So I'd done that, and it was quite a good deal, and it made some money over the time, the 3-4 years that I had it. And then sold it on to somebody who was very inclined to buy it because they owned the property above, and we rented it out for a period, then flipped it on and made a good wee profit at it, which that lump sum actually was timed perfectly into me to go to Australia. And we never went there, so I used that to then start the business, albeit a small pot of, you know, not massive, I'm not talking 100,000 here, it was like 30 grand or so. I had some other funds that I utilised, and we used that to kind of get started and do first project, and it just all evolved from there, from doing, you know, that first flip to finding properties for clients to doing more projects for ourselves, you know, sourcing property, and then into service accommodation, which, you know, we're very heavily involved with now. Yeah.
So you and I know there's so many strategies in property, but the people listening won't know this. I would like so many opportunities. It's kind of mind-blowing. Can you explain what it is that you're up to at the moment? Because there might be somebody actually listening to this. I know you're looking for people to get
Yeah.
involved. So if you could explain in a way somebody who might not know anything about property, but where you are in your business, I actually think it's phenomenal what you're doing. So if you can explain your
Yeah.
strategies.
So our main strategy for our own portfolio at the moment um, is finding old commercial properties and converting them into multiple unit service accommodations, 3, 4, 500 square meters in size, and we're converting them into 9, 10, 12 units that will be let as service accommodation. So that's kind of our main thing at the moment that we're doing. We're obviously sourcing the property for ourselves. We're then working with clients to fund the property. So we're not doing this all with our own money. We're partnering up. We're working with investors who are supplying some cash towards us, earning a return on their money. Well, we do this project, we project manage, we then obviously get the property up to the point where we can let guests in, and we're managing that as well in-house, the management of the accommodation, trying to systemize and operate that remotely, managing cleaners, the cleaning team between me and my partner. We're doing that all in-house, and that's kind of, we're taking that end-to-end service really, and that's what we're doing for our own portfolio at the moment. And working with other, there's a lot of people in that puzzle there that are helping out in many ways. And the second thing is that we still do sourcing for clients, helping them build their portfolio also, but it's with more standard, simpler projects opposed to these quite larger, complex ones. So sourcing buy-to-let properties, etc. So they can add to their portfolio. So that's two kind of the main focuses of us at the moment. I'm very much after reading the book, The One Thing, very much trying to, which is kind of what made us change a few years ago, a year and a half ago or something. We're kind of caught up in a few other businesses and just decided that why are we doing this, and focus on one thing instead of spreading yourself too thin. And we're very much trying to just get ourselves down that path of the commercial to service accommodation strategy and make that our focus and master that as opposed to try and master 20 things. Yeah.
Do you know, David, I love that book. I don't think I've ever come across anybody else that's read it. There's music to my ears. I love his question.
Good.
So I have a network of I have a network of people who they work long hours. They're the type of person who work in professionals. They've not got much time. Their money, they do put it to work, is towards pensions and things like that. They might want to put their money to work in something like this. It's like hands off for you, property, isn't it? Can you explain kind of like going more towards your what we call serviced accommodation and that model? Because other people will have heard of. Can you explain more how that might work for them and what, if they wanted to put the money to use, what they get from that?
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, I understand. I've been in that situation, the long hours and, you're a higher earning income. And, especially if you've got family, which I'm going to experience soon, the last thing you want to do at the weekend is go and start removing that family time when you've not had much through the week already and then go and start looking for properties. I don't think that would go down well. So yeah, what we kind of offer is very much, is great for people in that situation where, they have their sights on property. They've maybe tried to find a few deals themselves. They've maybe tried to invest, and again, they just don't have the time, the team, the resources, the knowledge. And it can become quite challenging, almost put them off. So we offer very like a hands-off package for clients on all our services, but with the service accommodation specifically, we can take essentially clients' funds as investment and help us to obviously do these projects, because everyone needs cash input as well as other lending, and we use our cash basically to make this project happen, you know, from the purchasing to the refurbishment, and use our funds throughout, and then that allows us to be able to return their money after a certain period of time, typically 2 or 3 years, and they would get their full investment back. And over that period as well, we can structure payments that they can do whatever they like with. It may be supplementing their income, it may be just banking it for the future. And with these projects, these larger commercial, we're getting a lot of value uplift. We're getting a lot of revenue generation once they're running, which allows us to then be able to pay investors a generous return on their money.
Yeah. And you agree that return on an individual basis, like the return on investment?
Yeah, so it just varies from client to project. So, you know, and what their goals are, how long they're tying it in for. So it's very much you know, it tends to be very much a conversation between me and the client once we do various structured onboarding calls, find out what they're looking for, trying to work towards their goals, and if it's something that we can kind of creatively, you know, construct with regards to payments to benefit them better. You know, if they're wanting to supplement their income, for example, we could work out a payment schedule that's more regular, as opposed to others who just want to park their money for a longer period of time. So that's where it really works well, and it's just, yeah, it has to be taken on a client and project by project basis.
Yeah, and also because I'm in this world myself, I know that the return on investment is better than if they put it somewhere else. So it's worth having a conversation with you.
Yeah,
I wish I'd have
definitely.
known about this when I was in my different life, like 6-7 years ago. Definitely would have done something like this.
Never too late though. Never too late to start.
Never too late to start. No, you're right. And that's what's important as well, getting an education. Like, so we're going to have people who are listening. So we've got people who are listening. I've got clients, right? And in their heart, they know they've got a dream and they are ready to get going with that dream, because I do mentorship. And then I've got other clients who are just not in a position. Like, they've got children in private schools. It's just not the right time for them. They've got high mortgages, all these different things. Something like what you're doing is absolutely perfect for those clients, whilst they're building up to the point where they can exit that life, something different. So that's really good. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's so many creative things you can do and ways you can access funds that the typical everyday person probably doesn't even know they can access as well. That's the thing, we can educate educate our clients around what's possible. And most of the time they didn't even know that they could do X or they could do Y, or they could access money here, they could access money there, that they think's potentially locked up for until they're 55 or 60, and accessing that to put into these projects and be in control of that, as opposed to you know, just following what the system wants you to do, is to put it into this pension, into this savings account, and earn very, very, very low interest rates that are not even worth getting out of bed for.
Do you know, that's the biggest thing that I've learned, and that's what's enabled me to put my notice in on my job. The very thing you've said, going and getting myself an education about different aspects and what I can do with that. And it's really surprising when you find out that you're right, it's a system. We're not taught these things. We're taught to leave school, get an education, get into a job, work towards a pension, die. And it's
absolutely
like that.
Absolutely. I mean, and if you don't, you know, everybody's put through the same system there, and unless you look outside the box and go down your own path, if you're you know, constant, if you're just around people that they're in the same mindset, that just becomes a complete reality, and you don't think there's any other way. Whereas there's a whole other world out there. It's unexplored essentially at that point
Yeah.
until you take that first step and kind of open your mind, and then you don't know what you don't know.
That's true. And, you know, like I've got my grandchild, you've got your child coming along. And I don't know about you, but I'm really excited because we've met different people now who do things in a different way and been shown what's possible. And the main thing we've been taught is to do our due diligence. So although people might think it's risky, there is due diligence involved. And I don't know about you, but I'm really excited for my grandchildren, for me, grandchildren, to see what's possible, to inspire them through action and example myself, what's possible,
Yeah,
not just
absolutely.
them.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm looking forward to similar myself, with trying to teach my child things that I was never taught, or you know, and teach them and bring them up in a different manner where they know about all the stuff from young age, you know, finances, you know, investment, property, go a long way.
Yeah, I agree. So I have a question
So,
that I ask everybody.
okay,
We lost you for a minute. I have a question I ask everybody. If you were to go back to the David
yeah.
that was working that 9 to 5 job, wasn't quite fulfilled, wanted more freedom, really interested in motorsports, but can't see a way that that's possible at that moment in time, opening the mind up, being curious, what would you say to him?
What would I say to him? So I would just tell him to, you know, oh, it's a difficult question, but I guess but it seems a bit cliche what I'm going to say, but to follow the dream, I guess,
Yeah.
you know, to follow that dream and not let go of it, because you could easily just get, you know, I could have just sat in that job and slowly progressed, earning a few £1,000 more every year. You know, it's probably then it gets to a cap, and then you get to that cap, and there's not really much other place that you can go. It and unless I followed that dream, I would have just ended up in, you know, from the age of 28, I'm 32 now, from the age of 28, where I started the journey in business, I would end up, you know, going through the next 20 years to 58, 48 to 60, you know, and it's just only took tiny wee, not even progress, just, you know, slight wage increase every year, and never been able to ever, you know, as expenses go up, slight wage increase every year, never really be able to do anything that extraordinary, you know, never managed to, you know, a lot, maybe some of these things, you know, get a yacht and travel the world might be a bit materialistic, but that's like what I just love to do. I'm not wanting a yacht to flash about and you know, be a poser. I'm wanting to just like go and experience that with my family, not for a materialistic kind of thing. It's I just think it would be a great experience. But yeah, I mean, if I didn't take the leap and I didn't, you know, do what I've done. None of my family really, you know, a lot of my family, I think, were very skeptical of what I was doing, very and worried. It's another word, that was doing this, but you know, the drive was there to make it work, and I believe that business is my only way now. I'm not going to do anything else. You know, no matter what happens. Um, yeah, yeah. So I'm so glad that I just this the one thing. What was your question again? The one thing I would say to
Yeah, no,
myself,
you said
it's
it.
just to
You said
follow that dream.
it.
Follow
Do you know
that
what?
dream.
So good watching you. So,
Yeah.
I've got 2 children and they're
Mhm.
23 and 26. And my 2 children were not conventional. And they both kind of jumped off the cliff and went on the entrepreneur journey. And they're both still finding the way. And both of them have traveled the world. My son's lived in New Zealand, my daughter's been in Bali, Australia, Mexico, Guatemala, all over the place. And both of them have got an education. Both of them have struggled, and both of them have got an education they could have never got if they'd taken the conventional path. Have you frozen? Yeah, no, you're back. And both of them inspire me just the way you're inspiring me talking right now.
Yeah. No, it's great to hear that they've took that journey as well.
Yeah. So
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We'll be fine. It's all right. I don't mind that it freezes because I want this podcast to be real and to show people real.
Okay.
So my last question for you
Yeah.
as up is if you have one thing to pay forward to our viewers, like something that you can say to them that you're paying forward from your experience, somebody who is thinking, I need to do something different, like my heart's telling me to do something different, what would be the one thing you would say, knowing the journey you've been on?
The pain of regret is much greater than the pain of doing the thing that you don't want to do.
Oh, I love that. Oh, actually, what a gem. I love that one. Thank you. That's
And I
really
didn't
good.
plan that, that just came to my head.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you. And what we'll do is when I put this up, I'll put your details below, so people can find you. Thanks, David.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanne.
Thank
It's
you.
been great being on.